meeting minutes. So anyway, I will note that at 7:03, we are going to call the meeting to order. Tonight's agenda relatively short. It'll be made all the more shorter since it looks like we aren't going to have any committee members on it besides myself. Peter, since you're new to the calls, I'll kind of give you the rundown of how these meetings typically go. Agendas get posted 2 to 3 days before, and typically the town posts on the website, and I post on Front Porch Forum. About 6 months ago, we moved to kind of a static standing agenda that we don't change unless someone reaches out to us in advance to add something specific on. So the typical agenda items that are on here, besides just review and approval of the previous month's meeting minutes, are we always open with a public forum that gives anybody in the public a chance to speak up front so that they don't have to wait till we get through all of our other agenda items, which can sometimes go long, can sometimes be short. So we always put that up front. That's followed by a discussion about grants. Grants are typically something that we've been working on for a long time here. I have some specific grant updates from our last month's call. Quarterly initiatives comes next. Quarterly initiatives are this call to the board to bring initiatives forward that we can find grants to attach to, and then bring those in front of the select board. Other business is a catch-all at the end, and then we adjourn. So with that sort of primer on our agenda, I'll open up the meeting to any public comments right now. Peter, you're muted right now.
You can hear me now, hopefully.
Yes.
Very good. Is public comments when I should be explaining why I'm here or what I'm hoping for?
Absolutely. Yeah. The
Okay.
mic is yours for sure.
Very good. I can't comment on the anything because I have no criticisms or commendations because I'm so new here. I just moved to Bristol in this past summer, but I am very interested in bicycling, and I am looking for conversations about how to maximize our bicycling safety. I'm particularly concerned about my own health and safety as I intend to do a lot of bicycling, having just met a woman whom I've been dating for a couple months. She lives in Essex Junction, and not wanting to drive all the time, I'm planning to start bicycling now that the weather's allowing it. And I could use any advice or wisdom as hopefully some reassurance that I'm talking to the right people about the long-term health and assurance of cyclists such as myself. I'm intending to ride 116 instead of North Road to Moncton Road and Silver Street because it doesn't have much shoulder, and I get passed as a motorist even when going 10% over the speed limit.
Yeah.
On that road once every 75 minutes, I estimate. So I'll shut up. I don't really know when to shut up, but I'm looking for perhaps a visit to Bruce Nason at the police department, and just, wanting to sort of get a commitment, ideally from Addison County motorists, myself included, that we won't drive more than 10% over the speed limit, especially when a cyclist is in front of us.
Excellent. So I'll address your first comment first. This is absolutely a place. It might not be the sole place, but this is absolutely a place to have that conversation and share thoughts. At least two of our board members, myself and our secretary, Brad Cameron, are active cyclists. Since the founding of this committee a few years ago, we have, and I can share the public share folder with you so you can kind of go through at your leisure some of the things that have been discussed over time. But we have discussed in depth as a group, as well as with other groups that are related to what we're doing in other towns in this area, including the 5 towns, as well as reaching out to Middlebury and Virgins. Really, I think the heart of what you're talking about, which is a safer biking and cycling environment for people in Bristol. One of the things that's been discussed is how challenging that is on the two main roads, on the Moncton/Silver Street route and on the 116 route. Those are the most attractive from the standpoint of they're the straightest lines to towns north and northish of here. They also represent the most existential threats for anyone daring to cycle on them. Um, as far as Chief Nason is concerned, currently the purview of the chief in the department, and Jim, you can certainly feel free to correct me on this, but as somebody who attended the town meeting this year, this only reinforced this. The police department's purview is the what's called the village police district. So while the chief does go outside of the bounds of that for Jim, I think like the one of the ones that jumps out to me is like when they do speed patrols on Hewitt Road, places like that. The two big roads, they don't go too much farther. Like the chief will patrol out to the Moncton line on the Moncton Road. I'm not sure how far down 116 it goes. I've typically only heard of the police department going out to the road that turns up to Lincoln Gap. They may go farther. Jim, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, the town has a contract with the police department to patrol any other street in road in town.
Yeah.
So they will go to other places. They concentrate on more busier areas where
Yeah.
there are traffic problems. But basically, they're in the old village district.
Yeah.
Which is usually, let's see, if I can remember it correctly, from 116 and Stony Hill Road.
Yeah.
Up to Lord's Prayer Rock.
Yep.
And from South Street by the lumber mill to North Street, the old firehouse area. That
Yep.
area, that's the village district, and all
Yep.
side streets back and forth. But
Yep.
yes, they do patrol other than just those.
Yep. So Peter, we've got a good relationship, as does everybody, with Chief Nason. He's been very receptive in the past to initiatives that we either inherited or to some of the conversations about traffic safety that we've broached with him. One of the interesting things I think that's going on right now relative to that is discussions around we'll just we mentioned A. Johnson when you came into the conversation or when you jumped on the call. One of the areas that you have to get through if you're going on 116 north is the Rockydale area, which is where there's virtually no shoulder, right? So that's one of these things that from an environmental standpoint, from an like a just a pure like logistical standpoint, the shoulders don't exist in on that road or on Moncton Road that would even allow for what anybody would kind of consider a safe passage. One of the things that's been constantly brought up, I see Tanya's jumping on. Hi, Tanya. Tanya is another one of our board members. Is we've had, I don't know, 6, 7 times it's been brought up that Rockydale stretch and how dangerous that is for kids who live up in Rockydale to be walking towards the village just in what would nominally be called a bike lane. It's so narrow that it's virtually non-existent. And so that's one of the reasons why Rockydale has kind of slowly worked its way up our list of agenda items. What ends up parking it is there was a scoping study done 15 years ago to see what could be done from that stretch from the village out effectively to the road up to Lincoln. And it's to solve that just that stretch is a 7-figure project. We are not deterred. And as I mentioned when you were jumping on the call, since the A. Johnson parcel whose details are being worked right now comprises about half of that stretch, there might be an opportunity there to do something on the mountainside of that road to at least make that a little bit safer. That doesn't get you to Essex, unfortunately. But you as somebody who's new to the village, you are dealing with what all of us cyclists have dealt with when we've moved to the village is, wow, this is very different than typically what I was used to dealing with as far as, well, I lived out in West Addison. our roads were practically empty. There were so many side roads that were fairly well maintained, and it was easy to road bike out there. I commuted from West Addison to Burlington on a bike every day. And I could stitch it to get the most dangerous roads were like little stretches of Route 7 that I'd have to jump on, but the shoulders were 7 feet wide.
Yeah.
We don't have that
Yeah.
here. And to your point, we have traffic moves relatively fast on those two roads out of town. So yes, this is the place to be. But I can also connect you with a couple other groups that we have a light relationship with, the Mountain Bike Bristol group, which has done the lion's share of work to do a lot of trail work to bring the A. Johnson parcel in, as well as other things. And they're connected to Cool Mountain Outdoor Sports, which is the bike shop out on
I've met Chris.
yeah. So they're very engaged. Their bias is a little bit more towards mountain biking, but they're not exclusive to that. So yeah, we're certainly bring whatever subjects you want to this group. We can share the routes that we take when we're going north. We typically, I don't know if you've had a chance to go out Plank Road and then Hard Scrabble, Piney Woods, and all of the gravel that's out that way, but that tends to be pretty quiet out there as far as travel is concerned. It's pretty fun. I'm not sure what are you riding like strictly a road bike?
I'm not. I'm riding a bike that can take up to 44 millimeters. It's
Oh,
called
okay.
an adventure bike. I'm a randonneur. I don't know if you've heard of
Okay,
Paris Brest Paris, but
of
I
course.
like to ride pavement for up to 36 hours.
Yeah.
That's 600 kilometers. PBP is a 1,200 kilometer ride. And that's just something I plan a year or two in advance for. But what I'm really trying to express here is just a commitment for myself to be part of a long, ongoing conversation with motorists. I'm not looking for seven figures to change a road nearly as much as I'm looking for a gentler, kinder motorist, myself included, just when there's bicyclists on the road, not and I want to hopefully train cyclists to be able to hold a line not more than 24 inches from the edge of the road. I just like I'm very much aware that I'm part of the problem when I'm on the road as a cyclist, and I'm very interested in getting cars to go past me safely. And I don't ever want to be perceived as a cyclist who's trying to take his whole lane because he deserves it. I just, I'm hoping to start a conversation where motorists understand that cyclists really aren't trying to be in the way, but we'll beg off. If there's a place where I can stop easily and let cars go by, yeah, I would routinely do that. But that just to increase the dialogue between motorists and bicyclists is what I'm hoping to do.
We would welcome your engagement with that. We had previously one of our first members who unfortunately left the group um, was big on cycling, responsible cycling. He had previously worked with Vermont Bicycle Tours, so he was very engaged in that as well as outreach within the community here for safe cycling. We're obviously connected to Local Motion. We've been connected previously to Safe Roads and Streets. We were heavily connected previously to the Bike Walk and Roll initiative here in Vermont, which was around safe passage for school kids. And so we're not unfamiliar with we have infrastructure here to help put that out. We are also engaged with a couple I don't want to call them county-based, but they're groups that are engaged with more than one town, including a group that's centralized in Middlebury that's working on signage. Maybe you've seen some of the Triangle Bike Loop
I have,
signage out there.
definitely.
We've had we've had in and out engagement with that group through no fault of anyone's. I think just their mailing lists and their call lists tend to vary depending on who's running the show there. And it's curious what they ended up defining as the triangle bike loop, especially relative to what your concern is, which is the safer routes that that you could possibly be connecting as far as the three towns are concerned. But those groups we have inroads and connections with and things like that. I can, like I said, I will forward you our cloud share, and in that you're going to find all kinds of stuff that you can ask us any questions on, and we can certainly we're here obviously to engage with the chief, with anybody else on the subjects that you brought up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of
What
course.
is a cloud share?
The one that we're using for this is Microsoft's OneDrive, I think. It's like Box or Dropbox or
Okay,
Google
got
Drive.
it.
Yeah, so the one that we're currently using is Microsoft's OneDrive. It's a publicly available share that includes everything from this. I'll give you like a 30-second history of this group. This group was started as an ad hoc group of community members who got together, not unlike what your concerns are, and said, hey, we should do something about bicycle and pedestrian issues here in Bristol. They presented their work and their thoughts to the select board. The select board liked what they did and chartered it officially as a group. When it became a select board sponsored group, all of the people from that board begged off. They said, okay, our work is done. Select board can go out and find a new group of people to engage with this and see it forward. That's loosely the group that we have today. One of those members we actually got to rejoin the committee. We've lost a couple members along the way. But the cloud share includes all of the foundational work they did. And then from there, it's everything from references that we've gotten from studies, groups like Local Motion, things like that, community outreach, plans that we presented to the select board, as well as ongoing initiatives, meeting agendas, meeting minutes, and things of that nature. It also includes our mission statement, which I think gets to the heart of what you're talking about. It's about building a healthier, sustainable environment for cycling, pedestrians, and non-motorized traffic here in Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have motorists understand that bicyclists are realizing they slow them down, and would like I would choose a certain road or certain hours even, some sort of trade-off where I, get some sort of permission for reassurance that I won't get hit from behind if I use this road or this hour. I'll avoid certain hours or certain roads.
It's yeah, that will be an interesting conversation to broach. It's
I don't mean to talk any more of my ideas on this meeting. I just want to be directed to know when and where to talk. And I really appreciate what you're saying. I intend to come to as many of these meetings as I can. I'd be a hypocrite to not do so.
Yeah, we're here. Like this is, and again, you can also bring if you've got like specific subjects you want to cover, you can obviously let us know ahead of time, and we can create a line item for them. And if we want to, it would be interesting to engage Chief Nason in this conversation, because like I said, he's always been super receptive to anything that we've discussed as far as like, are there roads? Is there a place where we want to put one of those little speed limit things with the camera on them, things like that. So yeah, you've found you found a receptive place for your concerns, but as well as just information sharing about commuting by bicycle around here.
Very good. Thank you, Chris.
Of course, thank you, Peter. Thanks for joining us. Tanya, hi. Are you
Hey.
on? I need to ask your favor right now.
Sure.
Since it's just you and me.
Yep.
We need it's going to be you and I approving last month's meeting minutes.
All right. Sounds good. I motion to approve.
Okay, and then I'm going to second that motion. And hold on, let me just make a note. Hold on. Motion by.
Yeah, I tried one of the previous links, and that one wasn't working for some reason, so I used the one through Front Porch Forum. So I don't know if other people ran into that issue today.
That's the one officially. I didn't. That's always going to be the official one. The one from the last two were one-offs because
right.
because they happened out of sequence. We had those meetings out of sequence.
Yep. My bad. I forgot about that.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. Okay, so if there's no other
I had a quick question for you.
Yeah.
I joined a little late, but you had mentioned that you had seen the study that had previously been done. for
AZ forwarded it to me, and I believe I put it in the share.
that in the share? Okay, I
Yeah, I'll
haven't
send.
checked that yet.
Yeah, I'll send a link to it. Yeah,
So
so we got that.
which spot was it specifically that was the most expensive, you said?
It wasn't even like the 116 from
Yeah.
like Lord's Prayer Rock out through Rockydale. That was what the original study was done on. Caveat to that is I believe it was 15 years ago. So
Right.
how
But
much of it
what
is
were
that?
they proposing to do to that cost that much?
I'd have to look at the study again, but
Okay.
it was something I don't that's a good question. I'd have to look at the study again and what prompted it. But I think this is something where I think it was probably I don't want to speak out of turn. I think it was similar to what they had looked at with Pine Street at one point, which is a sidewalk.
Okay.
Like I think they were
Because we
looking
know
at like,
sidewalks specifically cost a crap ton of money.
yeah, and what I found out, I attended the rec club's meeting 2 weeks ago, where a lot of these things were brought up, and I brought up the whole how Lord's Prayer Rock was in the way of a sidewalk, and they said, hey, one of the people on the who was on the rec club said, hey, they moved Lord's Prayer Rock,
Mm-hmm.
like, which I did not realize. They moved it and then moved it back, which is like, oh well, they could have solved this.
Yeah.
Anyway, one of the things that was discussed, I'll talk about this again very quickly was some of the group that were involved with the A. Johnson Hogback Mountain proposal are in the rec club, and the rec club's pretty heavily involved in that. And they mentioned something that I didn't really realize. I'd probably seen it at one point when I was looking at the state parcel viewer, but that A. Johnson parcel goes right up to Route 116. So one of the things that group is looking at, and I said, okay, well, we had a grant proposal that we were going to put through for this, is they can potentially use that A. Johnson land to create some kind of a right of way for pedestrians and cyclists that would get people at least out to Hogback Tavern, at least out to the
Oh,
bike
okay.
shop, on the other side of the street.
Right. That was more what I was thinking was if the study hadn't been done for that side of the street, is that something that we could propose for a study?
It's something that they were already thinking about. So
Awesome.
so I
Cool,
told them, I
cool.
said, okay, well, it's something that we had on our list. We would obviously defer to the people who are actually connected to the land in doing that. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the call, the Johnson family has bitten off a very sizable project in what
Yep.
they're doing, and they're learning as they go every week what things they have to consider. So it's going to be a long project, but it's going to be amazing regardless of what format it takes.
Right. So we can maybe link up with them later down the line when they know a little more.
Yeah, I ended up joining the rec club, so
Oh, great.
we're gonna be in with that. I'm involved with that now, and and I also told Meredith at the rec department. I said, hey, look, we've been trying to get Chris and the Mountain Bike Bristol gangs more connected to what we're doing. They're really the people that have helped spearhead the whole Hogback Mountain thing, because what they're going to do is they're really their first order of business once they've got everything in line is to build a trail that goes north out of town on the A. Johnson parcel out behind Bristol Pond. That's going to allow you to bike all the way to New Leaf to the trails out there
Excellent.
without going on Moncton Road. And so
Okay.
and then they've got a phase 3 and all this other stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna get them involved. I'm either gonna get Seth Beck or Chris or Meredith involved, at least in attending some of our meetings. So
Okay, great.
Right.
Yeah, let me know if there's anything else on the side that I can help to
Yeah, I will. I will.
figure any of that out. I know this
Um,
will be a years long
yeah, yeah.
one.
It's a huge project. So I've got a quick grants update. I've been having issues communicating, getting messages to the town hall, including the grant writer. I haven't gotten any responses back from the grant writer. So
What's her name again? Trying to find.
Frida, I believe.
Yeah. Okay.
So what I ended up doing was I spent some time last week looking for new grant opportunities.
Mhm.
I've found a list. I'm going to send a list around that's a Vermont specific list. I have no idea how many of them are going to change, given that the grant
Yeah.
environment is has changed considerably. Um, but including, I don't know if you're on Local Motion's mailing list, but I got an email from Local Motion about what things are at risk and really to speak up through signing things and all that. So I don't have
Sure.
much on the grants update right now because of that, but I hope to have something soon.
And I don't know if we ever got a response of if the town has an account for Grant Station.
I know, and that's the thing, like not hearing back from Frida. And
Okay.
I sent a note to I sent a note yesterday or the day before to Ian because just to get the agenda posted and asked like, please respond back to me. Here's the screenshot of the error message I'm getting from these emails. Please respond back. I'm trying a different way. And I haven't heard anything back. I'll probably see Ian tomorrow morning at school drop off and I'll just ask him um about that and if there's a better way or if they're getting our emails. But I'll find out one way or the other about the what let me just look at Brad's notes. Grant. Hold on. I just want to make sure we have. Can you remind me again then what the name of that grant thing is?
Grant Station, it's just one of the like typical sites nonprofits use. It has a ton of grants listed on there, all
Okay.
their different, categories and everything. So you
Oh,
can search within your parameters for what grants you could apply for when they're due. You can
I
sometimes apply through that site, but
I did end up on their site 2 days ago when I was starting to
okay.
look for things. And I was like, oh wait, this is asking for something. Like it showed like it's like those people finder things. And
Yes,
it
yes.
shows like 9 things, but it won't let you really see the details. So okay, yeah, I did end up on that. I'll try to get in touch with Frida tomorrow and um ask her what that is. And also ask her just reacquaint us with the process because I asked her to come to our last meeting and didn't get any response from her.
Okay.
Just so that she could refresh our memories on what the best process is here.
If not, I think I may re-sign up Green Mountain Foster Bikes for
Okay.
that. So if they don't have one, I'll probably just share the login info for you so you can just like look at it.
Okay, cool.
So then you
Great.
can see what's listed on there that might otherwise be hard to find.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And obviously that's tied into the next agenda item initiatives, which we're not gonna, we obviously aren't, it's any discussion of that is academic this month without any kind of a quorum. We've got everything obviously still from last month. Check the meeting minutes if you want to see Brad's notes on where we landed with all that stuff. It's going to shift a little bit, obviously, with the AARP grants being out. But there's
Oh,
still
right.
there's still one other one that we can look at that we already looked at and sort of approved, and then there'll be whatever this new list is, and so hopefully it's not going to be too troublesome to switch over to that. I don't believe I had the big news this month was again the A. Johnson thing and what I learned from the rec club about how that was going to dovetail with some of the things that we had discussed around Rocky Dale. Yeah, everything else I'll try to get with Ian. Again, apologies for these email issues that I've been having with the town hall, but I'll try to get with him so that we can get some stuff in front of the select board as soon as possible.
My other question was, was there any response about the possible trail behind the fire station idea?
The they're going through this was discussed actually at the rec club. Because they're responsible, the rec club is sort of the umbrella organization for the BTN.
Yeah.
I got a good education from rec club at the first meeting as to how the rec club operates relative to all of these other things. And so with the second phase of construction happening over there, there's a little bit of, which I don't know that we were necessarily aware of when we were discussing this. There's going to be some disruption to that area. I haven't seen yet a plan for it. I'm not sure if it involves the that little cut through, but I know that at the meeting, they said there will be a disruption to the area that the loop is on. It won't be a
Huh.
disruption in the sense that the trail itself will be impacted, but the area there will be. So now that I have this outreach with them, I can ask how, my understanding is that BTN is running that. They've got access to that. It's like a snowmobile trail, basically. They've got access to that. The landowners have agreed to it, all of those things. But I don't know. They're going to be a good font of information
Okay.
for that idea, for the Lover's Lane thing.
But they haven't voiced that they already were thinking about doing that.
No, I think they were, no, they didn't.
Okay.
No, they didn't. And I don't know if that was because they were the group that had encountered the challenge with what that was going to be previously. I think it was
Mhm.
mentioned on the last call.
Yeah.
Last meeting that it had been looked into.
Yeah.
But I do think, you know, having looked at that stretch a few times now since our last meeting, that's going to be a challenge. It's a challenge that that needs to be fixed though, because of what's going to happen down there housing wise. So,
Right. Alrighty.
all right. I don't believe I just made a note about that. I don't have anything else. So if anybody else has anything, we can deal with that in other business. Otherwise, we can sign off for the month.
I'm good.
I'm good. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn then,
Motion to adjourn.
and then I'll second it. Peter, thank you very much for joining us. How can we get in touch with you?
I'm happy to give you my phone number and or my email address.
Let me have your email address so that I can send you a link to all of our files.
Okay.
You can dump it in the chat here, or you can just if it's not here, I
I'd
can.
love to think I can dump it in the chat. Here I go.
Okay, this will be awesome. Let's use technology for our betterment here. Oh, there it is. Perfect.
My middle name is Van Vleck.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What are you running for a Randonneur bike?
Dave Levy is out of Portland, Oregon, and he runs and owns Thai Cycles. So it's a titanium bike that I've delayed purchasing for 20 years. I've been using a titanium Serrata on the road, and that remains my fast bike. You know, I'm not a fast rider. I'll be 60 in less than a month, but I do like riding just continuously gently. I'm a gentle, continuous rider.
Well, it's paying off. You look 40.
Thank you.
So I would not have guessed you were going to be that. So, well, have you've ridden titanium before?
I bought titanium in '96, and so it's predominantly what steel and titanium. I've never owned a carbon bike.
Yeah, right on.
I'm a tourist. I rode up to the Gaspé Peninsula and back in September.
Got it. Nice. Well, like I said, we're a good group to tap into. Brad and I are heavily engaged in cycling. I've done D2R2 before. That's
got it. I've done very little. I've been out on the West Coast for about 30 years.
Okay.
With the Davis Bike Club mostly, and I'm happy to exchange stories and get to know the cyclists in this town, because frankly, I don't know any of you yet. I met Matt Guermont. I know he's training for a race, a cross-country race in June, but I'm really looking forward to finding my part of the bicycle community here.
Oh, right on. We're glad to have you. Great. Thank you very much for attending.
Yeah, feel free to stop by Little City Cycles in Virgins and say hello.
Is that where you work, Tanya? Often?
I have a nonprofit there with Tim. He's the shop owner.
Got it.
So half the shop is a bike shop, half of it's a nonprofit. But I'm there Saturdays. So,
Clear.
But you can stop by and say hi to Tim. He can probably help connect you to other cycling stuff too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, all right, everyone. Thank you very much, Peter. I'll reach out with a link, and Tanya, I'll see you over email as well.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks,
You will
everyone.
all. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.